The topic of this video is on tax brackets, and hopefully you watched a little intro video that was posted about tax brackets. But essentially, it talks about how if you think about your money being like a dollar bill, but being something, that color looks terrible here, kind of being like a dollar bill, right? You don't pay the same tax rate for your however much you make. You pay it in sections. So for this section of your money, you're going to pay 10%. And then for this section of your money, you're going to pay 12%. And it kind of keeps changing as you go. For this section, 22, and for this section, 24, and etc. Right? So they call this a marginal tax bracket or a tax rate because we in the United States charge or have a tax rate that changes based on how much you make. Okay, but no matter what, the section that's in that 10% would still remain that. So you almost think about it like buckets, right? So if you get past this $9,950, this entire bucket is full and you can't fill it anymore. So you're never going to pay any more than $995 of this amount of money, which how you get that is you take this full amount times the 10%, and that's what gets you that number there. And then the distance between here and here, from $9,950 to $40,000, all the about the $30,000 that's in between there, you would pay 12% of that. So when you do that math, if you figure out the exact distance between those two, that would be 30,000 $575, and you multiply that by 12%. And if you fill this entire bucket, you would make that much, or you would pay that much. And this continues on, right? If you fill the bucket in between these two set dollar amounts, you're going to pay a full 22%, and on and on. So you're only going to be paying these really high tax amounts if you're making really, really high amounts of money yearly. For most Americans, we're going to be sitting in this range, under 164,000. So most Americans, average range is going to be right here. It's not going to be on these outliers out here in terms of these higher percentages. But let's go ahead and take a look at how this actually plays out. Like, how does this actually work when we're calculating taxes? So I'm going to zoom in here because we're not really going to look at anything, somebody making over $164,000. So let's take, for example, the idea that somebody makes $36,720. Okay, $36,720. That's their yearly income. So where would they be in terms of where would they be on this bracket? So if you think about this, well, they're definitely over this 9,950. And if we keep scooting along, they're going to be about here. So they're going to be in this tax bracket range, right? But they're not going to cross this 40,000. They don't make that much. So they're only going to be paying this full bucket amount, this full 10% amount, and a partial of this amount right here. And this is the part that we have to figure out what that partial is, because they're not going to pay this full amount of $3,669 because they didn't finish that whole section, nor this, nor this. They are paying this. So let's figure this out, right? So here's how you do this. To figure out the amount in this bucket that they're going to pay, you're always going to take the amount you made, it's 36,720, and you're going to subtract the nearest left dashed line, right? That cutoff line. So we're going to subtract 9,950 from that. So when we do that, 36,720 minus 9,950, we get $26,770. That's how much is in that section right there. And that is also the amount that is being taxed at 12%. So then we have to multiply that by 12%. So this section right here, this bucket, is a partial amount, which is $3,212.40. So now it's time for me to come up with my taxes. Well, I have to pay this and I have to pay this, right? Because this 3,000 amount is just from this 12% bracket, but I still am responsible from the for this bottom bracket, this bottom bucket. So you add your two buckets together, 3215.40, and when you add those two together, that then would tell you what your total responsibility is in taxes. $42,007.40. Okay. Now we're going to get to this later about what this means, right? Like, how does this play out, and how could this impact taxes, and there's lots of other things that go into it. But I do think it's important for us to understand how this number is calculated, okay, and how we continue on from here. Is this something that people have to do? Americans have to do? They have to figure out where they are marginally on this tax bracket? No, that's not done. There's probably some algorithm out there on some kind of computer system that takes your yearly income and it figures it out, right? And it spits a number at the IRS in terms of, and really you, the person that's filing your taxes, in terms of what you have to pay, right? But that is not something that you have to figure out. But I think it's powerful to do a few of these examples and figure out how this works, because then you actually understand the system behind it, okay? So the whole purpose of understanding and doing these practice problems is just to understand the mathematics that's happening behind the scenes to figure out your taxes. All right, so let's do one more example. Let's do a higher amount just to kind of see how this works a little bit, and then we'll be done with this content. So I'm going to erase this one, and we're going to look at somebody making a little bit more money here in terms of how this plays out. So let me erase all of this. Okay, so let's say we've got somebody making, let's say $94,000 a year. Okay. So this person is fully filling the first bucket. They are fully filling the second bucket. They're even fully filling the third bucket. Okay. And they are partially in this last bucket, but narrowly. Right here is how much they're at. So really, they're not going to pay this full amount here. Okay, they didn't fill that entire bucket, but they are going to pay the full amount in the first three buckets. They filled their three buckets, they're past it. So we have to figure out how much they're marginally in this last bucket and then figure out the tax of that amount. So I'm going to take the 94,000, I'm going to subtract the nearest left hash mark, which is the $86,375. So when I subtract that in my calculator, I get $7,625. So this is how much I'm going to be paying 24% on. So times 24%. And this amount right here is $1,830. So now when it comes to what is this person who made $94,000 responsible for, well, we have to start adding all the buckets up. So we have the $955, the $3,669, the $10,087, and then lastly, the $1,830. So these are all for what I'm responsible for. So if I add those all together, this person will be responsible for $16,541 in tax, okay? So something just to keep in mind is just remember that, like, at the end of the year, you're not already responsible of coming up with 16 grand if you made 94. So that's the other part that we will talk about as we continue, right? Is how does this work? Because people aren't paying $16,000 every year or whatever to their government. So keep that in mind that there's more information to come, but this is how tax brackets work. If you have any questions,